Hey, I have a video for you I wasn't planning at all. Now, as some of you know, the number one issue for me in gaming is the permanent destruction of games, which is primarily caused by the practice of games as a service. I go into detail on this in my games as a service video. So I awoke yesterday to find an attention-grabbing headline. Godfall won't be a live service game, but you'll have to be online. This is an article from PC Gamer originating from VG247 Gaming, reporting on a tweet from the official Godfall Twitter. So here's the exact quote. Godfall is not a service game, but does require an internet connection to play. Wow, this got me stirred up. Let's start here and work our way out. First off, this is a lie. But it's such a fundamental lie, it can actually confuse you into thinking what you thought you knew about reality is wrong. Now this is probably obvious to most of you, but I really want to spell this out for anyone who doesn't get it. I mean, this is the internet. Somebody's not going to get it. Let's treat this like a logic statement. Godfall is not a service game. Well, a service game requires some sort of service from the developer in order to function. Usually a connection to their servers. So if they shut down and stop providing that service, your game is bricked and unplayable. That means it's a normal game and you own it. You can play it now, you can play it 20 years from now, even if everyone involved with the game disappears. Hey, I've said it before, Descent. That came out in the 90s, supported online multiplayer. The company that made it's dead and gone, yet here I am still running it. Not a service game. But uh-oh, here's the rest of their statement. Does require an internet connection to play. Oh, see, now we're contradicting ourselves. Any game that requires an internet connection to play means it needs to connect to the company's servers to work, meaning it's dependent on a service from them. If Descent required me to connect to the company's servers, I'd be boned. Then the game would have stopped working 16 years ago. So this statement means it's a service game, but here they're saying it's not a service game. This is how people get confused. They're saying one thing, then saying the exact opposite thing all in one sentence. Grass is green, but grass is not green. Yeah, that's kind of a weird lie, huh? Normal people don't talk like that. Unless we're describing some Lovecraftian reality-bending state where the nature of matter is constantly shifting, and this company isn't cool enough to be doing that. This true but not true concept was most famously described in the book 1984 with the term doublethink or doublespeak. It's used almost exclusively for propaganda or for our brains trying to process a situation that fundamentally can't exist. So why are the developers of Godfall making weird lies? Well, I suspect the person who wrote the Twitter post is in marketing, and their job is to make the game sound good. So since the game is doing something unpopular, requiring an internet connection for single player, they have to kind of pretend that's not happening. So we get statements like this. This is just Madness 101. This is the easy stuff. Now, I would be done here, but the way PC Gamer handled this is putting me into overtime. First off, that's a good headline. It got my attention. They have to know that the people behind Godfall are making a bold-faced lie, so seeing that in a headline will get people to click on the link. But the problem is, that's all they did. This article is committing what's called a lie by omission. That means you're saying something that contains information that is true, but you're leaving out an important part which changes the context entirely. See, here's the problem. The creators of Godfall made a false statement and PC Gamer quoted that. So far, so good. Now, I believe PC Gamer knows what Godfall said is a false statement, because if they didn't, they wouldn't frame the headline in a way that shows off the contradiction. But then, nowhere in the article do they mention that this is a contradiction, and they just leave it. This is where I feel like I need a term that I don't have. What PC Gamer is doing here is journalism, but it's a different kind of journalism than I'm used to. So you tell me, how do we distinguish this? Let's say I'm saying something verifiably false, like 2 + 2 = 5. Journalist 1 accurately quotes me, but then mentions in his article that I'm mistaken and 2 + 2 actually equals 4. Journalist 2 also accurately quotes me, and then nothing. That's the whole article. What term do we use to distinguish journalist 1 and journalist 2? They're both journalists, but they're using very different approaches to reporting information. Well, in this case, PC Gamer is taking approach number 2, which again, I think is a lie of omission. Now, we're all human and can't know everything, but this is games journalism. If PC Gamer was quoting a mathematician and he made an error talking about Diophantine equations, yeah, they might not correct him because they may not even realize he made an error. That's not their field of expertise. But here, they know they're quoting a false statement and giving no correction. Either that or the author at a PC gaming magazine is completely unaware of how online games work. I kind of doubt that. See, the article PC Gamer referenced at VG247 didn't do that. They wrote only about the game requiring an online connection and didn't even mention the false portion of the statement because that wasn't their focus. So while their coverage was arguably incomplete, they weren't committing a lie by omission. I don't know why PC Gamer did this because they don't always do this. This got me to look up another article where Ubisoft was lying and PC Gamer called them out on it. It's a very creative way to describe a subscription without calling it a subscription. There you go, that's all it took. Now the readers are informed. But when it comes to a company calling a game that requires a service from them not being a service game, we get crickets. I cannot tell you why that is. Feel free to post your own theories. It's a double standard though, and considering how I think this is the most important issue in gaming, yeah, this kind of makes me bitter. Remember, games as a service plus time equals about a 97% chance the company will render your game unplayable with no recourse to run it again. This means Godfall is on death row right out the gate. So now we have a game company making a 1984 style doublethink statement, and then PC Gamer repeating that message with no correction, which essentially amplifies it. This is how propaganda works, guys. Bad faith actors plus complicit media equals effective propaganda. Now, you might think I'm being ridiculous, but put this in perspective. I'm cynical, and I think that I've largely lost the messaging battle that there's no good reason you shouldn't be able to continue playing an online multiplayer game even after support ends and the company's servers shut down. If that weren't true, I wouldn't be able to play Descent online with other people today. Now, would I? But I think if you were to ask your average gamer now if you could play online with other people with no support or company servers, they'd say no. That's just the way things are. So that propaganda has been successful. Now, I think at this point in time, most gamers still accurately believe that there's no good reason single-player games have to be online. But hey, this message from the company is a perfect example of trying to change those views. Bit by bit, maybe in 20 years, most gamers will believe you have to connect to company servers just to play a single-player game. It's just the way things are. Who knows? But that's why I wanted to douse water all over this messaging. This is ground zero. If I don't do it now, then their message just gets stronger in the future. They're lying. Don't forget that part. And for them to do it 1984 style doesn't help my cynicism. I mean, I can't make a video every time the games industry lies. I'd be here forever. But ones that directly enable the destruction of games? Yeah, I'll try and show up for those. Hopefully that's not too often. Okay, that's it. Bye!